I tend to believe that these guys who are quoted in this article are guys who probably had a lot more success with Nick Foles as opposed to Carson Wentz.
My response is this, and you know what? Listen, throughout my career, I've had to quote anonymous sources on numerous occasions. So I'm certainly not going to knock any reporter for using anonymous sources. They use it to cover the White House, for crying out loud. I'm not even talking about now. I'm talking about always, from the days of Sam Donaldson and beyond. I mean, they've always used anonymous sources. We get that. But the thing is, you need to be substantive and clear about what your point is. So even when it's anonymous, you're looking at it and saying, this makes some damn sense, okay? And when you just saying that Carson Wentz is selfish, he's a league MVP candidate. Everybody was raving about him. The Eagles organization loved him. Everybody was talking about the future. And then suddenly you get to this point. I'm saying why. I'm not questioning the veracity of it.
You want to follow up.
I'm saying, excuse me, why are you doing it? Why are you doing it now? What's the real motivation behind it? Is it football related or is this something else you ain't telling us? Because there's a lot that comes with Carson Wentz. So we get all of that. Say so. If not, don't do that to this man. Don't character assassinate him with vagueness or with non-football related stuff that's vague. Be clear.
What I found interesting is it was very clear, even throughout, that no one questions his work ethic. No one questions his talent. And it didn't even seem that anyone was truly questioning his intentions. In other words, he wants to be great, he wants to win Super Bowls and all those kind of things. I think there's something about Wentz's approach, it seems. And by the way, when you say who benefits from it, if he's playing catch with Zach Ertz because he doesn't trust his teammates, his running game, his offensive line, whatever, then everyone other than Zach Ertz benefits from it, right? I would say that you're right, Stephen A. It seems like that Wentz is operating, or these players, these anonymous sources feel they're operating in a locker room culture where Wentz is getting his way and is going to get his way because they're scared of the power he yields.
It's got to be something along those lines. Because we're saying the same thing about Antonio Brown. Nobody questions his work ethic. Nobody questions his level of production. But look at how he's been excoriated. Let's also remember that when we talk about quarterbacks, I don't know a quarterback that doesn't have a favorite. Tom Brady, what did we just finish raving about? He kept going to Gronk. Now, Hogan's out there. White's out there. Sony Michel's out there, but when it really came down to the wire, he kept going to old reliables, Gronk
but you
and
know what
Edelman.
It is? You know what it is?
That's why we understand that. That comes with it.
If you win when you do that, that's one thing. And here's how it always happens. If they would have won the Super Bowl, this article never gets written. These sources don't say anything. The fact is they were dead in the water when Carson Wentz went down. Nick Foles revived them, took them to the playoffs, won at Soldier Field, had them in a position to win at New Orleans.
Scored 29 points in 2 games.
Okay, but how'd the team play?
But this just speaks to how delicate a locker room is. Guys play favorites. It happens all the time. As much as I rave about locker room chemistry, I knew when the backup quarterback comes in and accomplishes what Nick Foles has accomplished, I could already see there's going to be guys that's going to play favorites in this particular situation. Regardless of how good Carson Wentz is, there's going to be guys that are going to be loyal to Nick Foles because what Nick Foles has brought to the team.
So let's put it out there Front Street. What are we saying? Are we saying that the Eagles should consider trading Carson Wentz? I don't believe that. I don't believe that. If I'm moving anybody, I'm moving Nick Foles. But
your only concern with Carson Wentz is if he can stay healthy.
There we go.
That is the
there we go.
only thing.
And my point is this: where are those players? Because see, to me, if I'm Joe or anybody else, I'm like, so what you trying to say? Those anonymous sources, because that's the kind of question I would ask. So what you trying to say? Are you going to trade Carson Wentz?
Hold on. So let me ask you.
Well, Wentz is so talented we forget because of Patrick Mahomes. If Mahomes didn't exist, we'd just be talking about Wentz as the future.
So let me ask you a question, okay? Because we always talk about the best ability is availability.
That's right.
Carson Wentz can't stay on the field.
Right, I feel you on that. So what's your question?
So would you move him?
For me personally, no. Because my point is football is a violent sport, and I don't believe in the durability of a Nick Foles over a 16-game schedule. See, the key for me is this.
But you don't have the evidence.
No.
You don't have the evidence to back that up.
Well, I do have the evidence that Nick Foles
we got the evidence of Carson Wentz.
I do have the evidence that Nick Foles didn't look that great when Jeff Fisher was coaching him, so I can lean on that if I wanted to.
Wait a minute, but how many quarterbacks have looked great under Jeff Fisher?
I am none, but I understand that. But what I'm saying to you is that I believe in Carson Wentz so much that the only question I have about him is durability. And if you're telling me you would move him because of durability questions, I can't knock that. I'm saying I wouldn't do it, but I can understand that you would. All I'm saying to those players who want to give anonymous quotes, why didn't somebody ask them? So what you trying to say? You think Carson Wentz should be traded? Because I would love to hear their answer to that question, because I know that brother can ball. And I'm not saying that Nick Foles can't quarterback, because we know better. But I don't think Nick Foles is Carson Wentz.
You don't think by these guys saying what they're saying,
I don't give a damn what they say.
By these guys saying what they're saying, you don't think that they're trying to basically force the Eagles to try to move on from Carson Wentz?
I'm saying you can.
That's why you dropped. That's why you dropped something like that.
You can surmise that, which is why I would say, what are you saying to do to those players? You gonna trade them? We can chirp all we want to.
Wanted to be there and ask follow-up questions.
Oh, I would have. Trust me.
I just want to say. I'll just say this about Nick
I'd have been
Foles.
right there in the
I'll
locker
say
room
this
asking
about
that
Nick
question,
Foles,
Molly.
and I don't have it in front of me. Look at Nick Foles' winning percentage, other than the Jeff Fisher years.
What do you mean other than Jeff Fisher year?
Well, you got to. Well, hold on. You of all people should understand that.
He threw 27 touchdowns and 2 interceptions with Chip Kelly.
So
how do we feel about Chip Kelly?
This is what I'm saying. You can't count how quarterbacks do under Jeff Fisher. You agree?
I agree with that. Let's just have fun with that.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Let's cut Jeff Fisher out. For whole rest of his career going back to Arizona, all Nick Foles does is win. He just wins all the time.
Excuse me. I'm looking at it and I'm saying Carson Wentz couldn't have won scoring 29. Carson Wentz couldn't have scored 29 points in 2 games. I think he could have done that. I'm looking at Nick Foles. Chip Kelly with the 27 touchdowns, just 2 interceptions. That was when Chip Kelly was an anomaly. You know, he was an enigma. Once they figured Chip Kelly out, his behind got sent back to college.
We all see the same thing in terms of the quality of the players. Carson Wentz is better. Like, he's just more qualitatively, he's better. And Nick Foles limited, or he got lucky in certain ways. At a certain point, the evidence mounts where you have to say, whatever it is, teams perform exceptionally well with Nick Foles as the quarterback.
They're 4-1 under Foles this season, 5-6 under Wentz.
Regular season numbers. Do we get to look at Doug Peterson?